सेव किया था ना?
मैं सिर्फ इसलिए गया था क्योंकि उसने मुझे कॉल किया, that's it. But listen तो.
Save it for someone else.
जिंदगी में सेव करना जरूरी है, मगर जब बात पैसों की हो, सिर्फ सेविंग से काम नहीं चलेगा। इक्विटी म्यूचुअल फंड्स में इन्वेस्ट कीजिए और अपने सेविंग्स को आगे बढ़ने का मौका दीजिए।
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.
Whenever a majority government is so firmly entrenched in power that it seems improbable for one challenger to defeat it, the idea of quote-unquote opposition unity returns. We need to explain why this is a bogus, defeated and repeatedly failed idea. Why, in fact, instead of hurting, it ends up helping a well-settled incumbent. And why this is the political equivalent of selling snake oil. Tough language, but I will explain to you why I use tough language. The opposition is rehashing the same failed idea today with just a year to go before the first votes are cast in the next general election in 2024. We can understand where they are coming from. Read their lips. We have the right to seek power. Sure, they have the right to seek power. None of us has the weight to defeat Narendra Modi by ourselves. We have to do something. We can't just sit at home waiting for another 5 years in wilderness or on depleting opposition benches. मुझे कुछ करना है. I must do something. That is the sentiment. It's a laudable sentiment, but must it be what's been done multiple times before with the same dismal results? The essential flaw in this tired and lazy idea is the belief that you can defeat a powerful leader and their party with arithmetic alone. That is, if one party or leader could not defeat the incumbent, why not get all together? After all, nobody, whatever the majority, gets more than 50% of all the votes in India, in India's first past the post system. In fact, even when Rajiv Gandhi got his majority of 415, the highest ever in India in the 84 election, in his sweep, he did not get more than 50% elections. Now, it is a simple argument, but it's also a simplistic argument. While the copyright on the argument that in elections chemistry mattered more than arithmetic remains with late Arun Jaitley, we can expand it now to argue that the electoral politics isn't just about arithmetic plus chemistry either. There is also other factors. There is also psychology, the rise of the transactional voter, what's in it for me voter, right? Some philosophy, and to be sure, pathology, because after all, pathology yields the strongest emotions. You will need a convincing mix of all these to persuade a comfortable voter to change sides. Then you imagine Rahul Gandhi or Mallikarjun Kharge, maybe, Mamata Banerjee, Sharad Pawar, Uddhav Thackeray, Arvind Kejriwal, M.K. Stalin, K. Chandrasekhar Rao, Pinarayi Vijayan, Akhilesh Yadav, Mayawati, Nitish Kumar, Hemant Soren, Tejashwi Yadav, Naveen Patnaik and Y.S. Jagan Mohan Reddy, maybe even the Akali Dal on the same stage. I'm trying to do a count of all the credible parties, credible in the sense of being capable of winning at least some seats in Lok Sabha. Can you imagine them on the same stage? All of them added up will make a formidable arithmetic. They'll make a nice picture, all of them raising their arms like this together. They will also make for formidable arithmetic. Then you run into three big problems. First, there is no way you can see them all together in one alliance against the BJP in the foreseeable future. There are too many conflicts and contradictions between them. Second, while many of them can unite nationally, most regional parties, for example, but many have rivalries with Congress in their home states. Third, and the most important, there is no common philosophical or ideological thread to bind these parties. Once you take out Patnaik and Jagan, who today see no particular need to fight the BJP for the Lok Sabha, right? They might just stay out of the fight in the Lok Sabha, and in fact, in Lok Sabha, they also vote with the BJP. Then your arithmetic depletes anyway. Next, you can list those who cannot go with each other. Akhilesh and Mayawati, for example, in Uttar Pradesh. Then you have odd combinations where opposition parties are also rivals in important states. The Congress with Aam Aadmi Party everywhere, and with KCR in Telangana, there are rivals. Then the contradictions like Congress and the left. Ideologically, the two are closer than they have ever been since 1969 when Indira Gandhi's minority government survived on votes from the CPI, Communist Party of India, pro-Soviet as it was called then. They were kept in line by her well-wishers in the Kremlin. They fought the Tripura Assembly elections in an alliance just now, the Left Front and the Congress Party, just this February, and in West Bengal earlier. Rahul Gandhi's language on political economy is the closest his party has been to the left since 1991. 1991 is when the reform began. At the same time, they are locked in perpetual mortal combat even in Kerala. Even in the unlikely event that they might divide seats for Lok Sabha to contest in Kerala, it won't convince many left voters to vote for the Congress to keep Modi out. As the left itself must have realized by now that their voters' ideological commitment is not so strong. Otherwise, so many of them would not have switched from them to the BJP in West Bengal and also Tripura. The third is the lack of a common ideology and the message. In its absence, a voter is shrewd enough to see through an alliance of convenience of people with diverse and often conflicting interests coming together to evict just the guy they overwhelmingly voted for twice. That is the ordinary voter. Ordinary voters overwhelmingly voted for Narendra Modi twice. Should they change their minds just because these diverse parties with conflicting interests have come together with that one-point agenda? Therefore, the rest, as Indira Gandhi first demonstrated in 1971, is easy. They say remove Indira, but Indira ji says remove poverty. वो कहते हैं इंदिरा हटाओ, इंदिरा जी कहती हैं गरीबी हटाओ. आप फैसला कीजिए, you make a choice. We know what choice that was in 1971. It won't be any different this time if this is the approach that's used. Our political history tells us this has never worked. A united opposition does work in some specific limited situations, especially in the states. Or there can be local arrangements. All right, that I will not put up a candidate in this seat because you are stronger. So votes which are committed to one side ideologically will not be divided. But no more than that. But it never works as some brilliant pan-national collection of diverse interests with no ideological or political core. It doesn't work like that. The first real effort for opposition unity was made in 1967. India was going through grave economic and social hardship, coming out of two wars in quick succession, that is 1962 against China and 1965 against Pakistan, two consecutive crippling droughts that had reduced India to ship-to-mouth existence, and the deaths of two successive prime ministers, Nehru and Shastri, while in office, in harness. Indira Gandhi, inexperienced as prime minister and still in her 40s, looked beatable in India's first post-Nehru election. She won a small majority ultimately, but many opposition parties won enough seats to deny her power in several key states. It is at this stage that they got together in a single point being keep Congress out, state-level alliances, that in a loose arrangement was then described as the Sanyukt Vidhayak Dal, SVD, or if we may translate, United Legislators Party or Alliance. The SVD state governments, however, had a short shelf life and set the template for opposition unity for times to come. Because the moment you say opposition unity, people coming together to keep somebody out, generally the impression is that this will lead to instability, that this government will not survive. If people come together only to keep somebody out of power, they do not stay together. That's been our learning from our history. Indira Gandhi wrote this sentiment to power at a very large majority in 1971 midterm poll that she had ordered. Was the post-emergency 1977 election an exception? It's a good question to ask. Time spent together in Indira Gandhi's jails had brought opposition leaders a sense of unity, and they had much time to debate why their arithmetic had failed in 1967. That's why they now coalesced their own ideological and political identities into one, the Janata Party. But once in power, contradictions of ideology, personal ambition, and multiple inbuilt pathologies led to its breakup in just over 2 years. And Mrs. Gandhi immediately dismissed it or condemned it as khichdi. From 1989 to 2014, we could say that India entered an era of coalitions. Though Narasimha Rao's minority Congress government, 1991 to 96, only needed some votes from the outside, so it wasn't a classical coalition. The rest were true multi-party coalitions. Of these two, that is VP Singh and Chandrasekhar's, lasted less than 2 years between them. They were very unstable. They were coalitions living on daily wages. The biggest opposition parties, the BJP and the Congress, backed these governments, that is the VP Singh government and then the Chandrasekhar government, and they did so by turn only to deny each other power. BJP did so to deny the Congress power, Congress did this to deny the BJP power, if only to buy time. If this was opposition unity, it was a very bad advertisement for the idea. Two other coalitions, the NDA and the UPA, ruled for 16 years between them. 6 years for NDA, Vajpayee's NDA, 10 years for Sonia Gandhi, Manmohan Singh, UPA. To understand why these were different and these were not examples of opposition unity as it's called, three factors must be noted. One, each had one of the two biggest parties at its core, and there was no doubt as to who was going to get the prime ministership. Second, the party at the core was already getting 100 plus Lok Sabha seats, so it was a solid core. And third, none of these was fighting a powerful, popular and full majority government at the center. Unlike the period from 1996 to 2014, today's politics isn't a tussle between rival coalitions. We are back to an Indira Gandhi-like era. Even the talk of a single-point opposition coalition to oust Narendra Modi will only work entirely to his benefit. वो कहते हैं मोदी हटाओ, मोदी जी कहते हैं भारत को विश्व गुरु बनाओ. They say remove Modi ji says make India a global power. If that becomes the equation, we can call that election now. We know what's going to happen in that election. We can predict the results. It is a perfectly legitimate ambition on the part of the opposition to defeat the incumbent and get power. For that, however, they need three things. One, a leader. Second, an idea. And third, an ideology. It's very difficult to get them all together in a loose coalition of diverse parties. If they can't get these, then the only way ahead for them is to build state level, local level, conflict-free alliances to try and limit the division of votes and thereby limit the BJP's final numbers in Lok Sabha. Talk and plans of grand alliances will be a case of unity in futility. Once again, I'm using strong words, but I think these are well thought out. Because all of this will help Narendra Modi just as the Grand Alliance helped Indira Gandhi in 1971.